And now let's try and tune in to no good music from an undisclosed location somewhere in New Jersey. Bon Jovi's new album marks a new low point for the band.
Oh, I thought that was back in 91.
And then his glasses would come off and he'd be like, I'm sexy.
People love music, and musicians love musicians.
I just cried my eyes out because I was so honored. Like, I couldn't believe it. Like, I thought I would hear just a little, like, you know.
Yeah.
I just was looking at it from the standpoint of, can you imagine him drumming for, with Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers? That's amazing.
Yeah. And I'm going, so he's going, da-da-da-da-da-da.
So where is the puppet? Like, who has the puppet?
So, I don't know if it's alive or not.
Yeah, where is he?
Hello, everybody. This is Rob.
And this is Jeremy.
And we are on show 76. But before we kick things off for 2025, we got a new song by the band the On and Ons called Rollercoaster. So let's give it a listen, and we'll be right back. Hey, we're back. And that was the On and Ons.
I like that.
They're from Australia. So not the first band we've had from Australia that we played. And they are one of the newest artists to sign on with the New Jersey-based Gem Records. And they're releasing their newest album, Come In, on January 17th. And when the song starts, when you first hear the guy sing, I was thinking The Who. I was thinking Roger Daltrey. And then by the end, I'm thinking REM, So the band was formed by Glenn Morris, lead guitar, lead vocals, and his brother Brian Morris on drums and vocals. And the band also includes their brother-in-law, Dennis Wilson, not from the Beach Boys, of course, on guitar, and bass player Clyde Bramley. The album contains 13 songs written by Glenn Morris, including 3 brand new tracks. And the On and Ons are mostly family and grew up singing songs by the Everly Brothers, the Beatles, many other artists from that time. And the new album is the band's introduction to the US, Canada, and Europe. Even though I think you can go on Apple Music and stream some of their other songs, but this is their introduction with the U.S. release of an album. And you can go visit them at their website at www.theonandons.com.au for music, merch, and upcoming tour info.
Okay.
So Jeremy's back with me today.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And we're doing I like to call just our regular podcast.
Just the regular one.
But we're going to do kind of a year. We're going to do a year in review. Some stuff, people, unfortunately, that we lost in the music world. And we're going to, we're just going to go right into it. We're drinking here. I think we had this beer before. It's called Blizzard of Hops.
Yes, we have. Mine's empty.
By Trogs, yeah. You know, I had a soundbite where you say, we need more beer.
We need more beer.
And I was going to put that in here.
Yeah.
We're cutting down on the sound bites this year, folks. You know, but...
This is ridiculous.
I know, Dua. It's ridiculous. Dua's back. So I have a little year in review. Of course, music-wise. Go down the list here. AC/DC announces a tour.
Mm.
And Jeremy and I have tickets. Yes.
Cannot wait.
And we're going to do a podcast just talking about the tour itself once we see them. Because neither one of us have seen AC/DC, and it's most likely their last tour.
Yep.
We're actually going to Maryland, so little road trip.
Yeah, come find us. Come see us. Say hi.
And 2024, Aerosmith said goodbye. REO Speedwagon said goodbye for now, I guess. Linkin Park reunite with a new singer that 50% of the fans don't like.
Those numbers are accurate between us.
Yeah, they are. Bob Dylan biopic, which Matt and I hope to see. I don't know, maybe Jeremy will go with us. Was released, called A Complete Unknown. Bruce Springsteen biopic is being filmed. Release this year, called Deliver Me From Nowhere. Dua Lipa had her first televised special, and it was incredible. No lip syncing. I think a 50-piece orchestra, Royal Albert Hall. It was great. I watched it. I think I had the surround sound on. It's nice. Like I was there.
Yeah.
We found out that Tommy Lee only showers once a week.
We did?
And did we really think he even showered? So that's a plus, once a week.
Yeah.
Now we had new releases from old artists last year. Eric Clapton, Tears for Fears, The Cure, Black Crowes, Bon Jovi. I have to mention Bon Jovi.
Yes, you do.
David Gilmour, Ace Frehley, Little Feat, and Deep Purple, and another Neil Young and Crazy Horse album. Oh, and Willie Nelson puts out his 153rd album. I'm not making that up. It's his 76th solo album.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah. Last Leaf on the Tree. Now, we did not have to endure a Bob Dylan album.
Yet.
Yeah. And if you thought he couldn't sing, 60 years ago, he really can't sing now. So listen to his Christmas.
I bet there's a movie that's going to prove you wrong.
Taylor Swift comes off one of the biggest tours in music history.
And donated so much of that money to good causes.
Yeah. And let's see, Kiss released their debut album 50 years ago, last year. Beatles stormed America 60 years ago, last year. Also, celebrating 50 years was The Unforgettable Fire, Purple Rain, Like a Virgin, Dookie, Born in the USA, 1984, and Stop Making Sense. Actually, they all turned 40. Sorry, not 50. Both Weezer and Oasis released their debut albums 30 years ago.
Okay.
And 30 years ago, we're, of course, talking 30 years from 2024, the bands Bowling for Soup, Evanescence, Fugees, Hoobastank, Limp Bizkit, Seven Dust, Spice Girls, and Tenacious D all formed 30 years ago. They've been around 30 years.
Yeah, you can stop talking now.
Okay. When Jeremy feels old,
oh man,
it's really, old.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a little break, come back, and then we're going to do, sadly, a little memoriam, people we lost in music. The music is here. Okay. Okay, we're back, and I have a list of people. It's incredible the people we lost, some more famous than others, of course. We got David Soul. And why is he music? He was the singer of the incredible song Don't Give Up on Us from the 70s. And he was one half of Starsky and Hutch. Del Palmer, engineer and key collaborator with Kate Bush. Mary Weiss, singer with the 60s band The Shangri-Las. Frank Farian, who Matt and I mentioned on our very first podcast back in November 2019.
Wow.
He is the German producer behind Boney M and Milli Vanilli.
Yeah.
Now, Boney M, their song was in a commercial recently, believe it or not.
Okay.
Called Daddy Cool. I forget what they're selling, but...
Condoms. No, I'm just kidding.
And very sadly, someone who we interviewed back in 2023, Melanie, passed away. She was a performer at Woodstock. She also penned the chart-topping song Brand New Key. Then we got, I'm going to butcher this name, but Shigechi Nagishi and Jeremy. Where would you be today if not for this person? You don't know who that is?
No.
After a colleague critiqued his singing, the Japanese engineer invented the karaoke machine.
Oh, okay.
He passed away last year.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Cheetah Rivera. She was in the Broadway productions of West Side Story, Bye Bye Birdie in Chicago. Wayne Kramer, guitarist who paved the way for punk in the band MC5. He also co-founded Jail Guitar Doors USA, which provides instruments to inmates serving time.
Okay.
So they can, jam in jail.
Yeah. Jam in jail.
Yeah.
There's a band for you.
Toby Keith, of course, country singer. He was pretty famous. Mojo Nixon, psychobilly rocker. Now, I was a big fan of his in the 80s, and Matt and I actually talked. Actually, he was one of the people I talked about when we did bands that make us laugh, even though he wasn't really a band, but he did kind of quirky, let's see, Eric Carmen, singer-songwriter such as Hungry Eyes and All By Myself. Carl Wallinger of the great 80s bands The Waterboys and World Party. Clarence Frogman Henry. I don't know if you ever heard his song, Jeremy, but Ain't Got No Home. He had a famous croaking voice, like a frog.
Sounds familiar, but yeah. I'd have to hear it.
Dickie Betts, founding member of the Allman Brothers.
Yep.
Another MC5 member, the drummer, Dennis Thompson, passed away. Joe Egan, co-founder of Steelers Wheel, and co-wrote their hit Stuck in the Middle with You. Joe Bonsale, tenor vocalist for the Oak Ridge Boys. John Mayall of the world-famous John Mayall's Blues Breakers. Eric Clapton, Mick Taylor, Peter Green were all members at one time. Greg Kinn, he wrote such hits as Jeopardy and the Breakup Song. Jack Russell, not the dog, from the great band Great White. Yeah. Once Bitten, Twice Shy. Love that song. Sergio Mendes, Brazilian musician. And do you know, Jeremy, he couldn't even walk down the streets in South America.
He was that popular, huh?
Yeah. Do you know what that's from?
No.
Seinfeld.
Ah.
When they go to the record store?
Yes.
And Kramer's talking about Sergio Mendes.
Yes. I
yeah,
should have picked up away. On that.
Let's see. Tito Jackson, of course, of the Jackson 5. Chris Christopherson, singer-songwriter extraordinaire, star of The Star Is Born with Barbra Streisand. He also wrote the Janis Joplin song Me and Bobby McGee and Johnny Cash song Sunday Coming Down. Cissy Houston, she was the mother of Whitney Houston. She was also a soul and gospel singer. Phil Lesh of the Grateful Dead. We lost the great Quincy Jones. Dennis Bryan, the drummer of the Bee Gees, and he was actually on the Saturday Night Live Fever soundtrack and also other Bee Gees albums. And finally, Bob Slim Dunlap, guitarist for the Replacements, band I like. So sad. That's sad. But every year we lose, some great people.
For sure.
So we're going to take another break. We're going to be back, and what are we going to do? Music news.
All right.
Well, I got news for you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Phil. Let's see here. Okay, music news. So I have two stories. First one is the Doobie Brothers announced first album with Michael McDonald in 4 decades.
Yep.
This is from an article, actually from a radio station, WCHO, out of Ohio. And says the Doobie Brothers are gearing up to release a new album called Walk This Road next year. This was in December, so it is this year. And it will be their first with Michael McDonald in more than 40 years. Founding member Pat Simmons shared the news in a lengthy Facebook post on Monday, December 30th. Season's greetings to all our fans out there. It's hard to believe another year just shot by like a rocket. And it continues on about the year, and then he goes, here's the goal we've set for 2025. This train keeps rolling down the track, and we're almost ready to release our new album, Walk This Road, sometime after the first of the year. We have 10 new songs sung by Tom Johnston, Michael McDonald, and Pat Simmons. Says the three of us wrote songs and collaborated together. We had lots of fun recording it, and we feel proud of the results.
I'm curious to see how that's going to work as far as the dynamic of the three singers. Is there going to be one that does the majority of the tracks? And I know you mentioned this kind of off to the side to me. Like Michael McDonald, for example, is he going to do 2 songs? Is he going to do 3? Is he, voicing 7 of them? I'm curious to see how that breaks down.
Or are all 3 of them singing? Because now that I read this, we have 10 new songs sung by, and it says the 3 people. Maybe they're all doing harmonies and maybe singing on all of them.
So that would be an interesting sound and dynamic.
So they're going to debut a song soon. It says after the first of the year. And the full album will follow sometime in the spring, summer. I have the feeling whatever song Michael McDonald is prominent on, I think that's what they're going to release.
Right.
To
be the single.
Yeah. Yep. So my next story is the childhood home of AC/DC's Angus and Malcolm Young accidentally demolished by developers.
What?
Yeah. Oh. Developers bulldozed the home in Sydney, Australia, claiming they were not informed of its cultural significance.
Wow.
So, ironically, no TNT was used in the demolition, Jeremy. Now, the house located at 4 Burleigh Street in Sydney's inner west was quietly bulldozed in recent weeks after being purchased by developers in February 2023 for $5.8 million, according to Australian outlet news.com.au. So they were going to, I don't know what they were putting there. Maybe it says here. Yeah, I don't know.
Probably a development.
Now, the property was listed on the National Trust list of historic homes in 2013. However, developers Burnwood Square Party Limited said they were not informed of its cultural importance prior to leveling it to build a $28.75 million residential site.
Yeah, bingo.
There you go.
Development.
Yeah. So money does talk, and it ain't no fun waiting around to be a millionaire.
Oh, man. Those were... Was that you or was that the article?
That's me.
Oh, okay.
Those are 2 songs.
That was a bit of a reach, but we'll go with it.
So Burnwood Square Party Limited General Manager Leon Kmita issued an apology in an official statement to news.com.au. We regret that the previous long-term owner did not share this vital part of the property's background with us. He said they were beating around the bush. No, I added that, sorry. Can't help myself. He said that his team plans to salvage materials from the demo site and honor the historic property by erecting a special space, such as a cafe or bar, where AC/DC fans can gather to celebrate the band's enduring legacy.
Sure.
He says, I want to convey our heartfelt regret. We now recognize how deeply this location resonates with the AC/DC community. I didn't know there was a community. And fans worldwide.
His idea should get shot down in flames, but that won't happen.
Let's see. Now, the Young family moved into 4 Burleigh Street in 1965 after migrating from Scotland in 1963 and living in other homes in the Sydney suburb of Burwood. So, but they kind of grew up there, I guess. That's sad.
It is.
Okay, so we're moving on to our next segment, and we'll be back in a minute. Okay, we're back, and I have some new music releases.
All right.
January 10th, we got... Now, I don't know too much about this band, but I thought I mentioned them. They're a Scottish rock band.
Okay.
Franz Ferdinand.
Oh, okay.
They're going to release their 6th studio album called The Human Fear. And I'm mentioning Ringo now for, I think, the 3rd podcast in a row. He put out his country album today called Look Up, and I listened to it. And it does not compare anywhere near Octopus's Garden. The album it's just basic. And I never thought Ringo was a good singer anyway.
Right.
And I think he said, "This is Ringo. Hey guys, I'm bored. Let's make an album and let's make it country." Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wasn't really impressed. He's got some guests on there like Alison Krauss, Molly Tuttle. Him and Molly, though, like there's 3, I forget the other person that's on that album, but they alternate songs.
It was Paul McCartney. The long-lost brother of Paul McCartney.
Really?
No, I'm just kidding.
I thought you were being real.
No.
So Molly Tuttle, actually, her voice goes really good with Ringo's.
Oh, good.
I have to say.
Good.
There are a couple of good songs on there. David Gray, I don't know if you remember him. He had a hit song, Babylon, back in 1999. He's still pumping out music.
I know that song.
Yeah. He's going to release his 13th studio album.
Wow.
Who knew?
Yeah, who knew?
Someone's buying those albums.
Yeah.
January 17th, Rebecca Black. I don't know if you remember her.
Is she back in black?
No.
Okay.
In 2011, she put out a YouTube music video for a song called Friday.
Oh, God.
Yeah, okay.
I remember that.
Yeah. It was considered amongst the worst songs ever made.
Yes.
I mean, she was 14.
Yeah.
She's 27 now.
Yeah.
And she's releasing her 2nd studio album.
Okay.
Yeah. Called
Thursday.
called Sunday. Okay, January 24th. Larkin Poe. I love Larkin Poe. They're set to release their 8th studio album called Bloom. And the band is blues guitar duo Rebecca and Megan Lovell. They're sisters, of course, from Calhoun, Georgia. They now are based in Nashville. And a little trivia on their name. Larkin Poe, right?
Both their last names.
No.
Oh.
They have the same their last name's Lovell.
Oh, okay.
Well, Larkin Poe is actually a person.
Oh, okay.
And he is their great grandfather. And he's a cousin of Edgar Allan Poe.
Oh, all right.
So they named the band after their great grandfather.
All right.
Now, The Weeknd. I haven't mentioned The Weeknd.
I haven't heard anything from them in a while.
Yeah. I didn't really listen to his last album. The album before that I liked.
Last?
With that bright lights.
Yeah, I was going to say, last significant album was the Super Bowl, wasn't it? When he performed for the Super Bowl?
Probably. That was like 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, it was a couple of years ago now.
So he's releasing his 6th studio album called Hurry Up Tomorrow.
Sorry.
So, let's see. The album I liked was from 2020. After Hours, that's what it's called.
Okay.
And he had an album after that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I listened to it. And then let's see here. And lastly, on January 31st, we have Jeremy's favorite rapper, Lil Durk. Yeah, you like Lil. I know you do. Man.
Oh, yeah.
Jeremy pulled up tonight in front of the house, and man, Little Dirk was blasting
out.
Yeah.
Out the vehicle.
The hinges off my front door fell off.
Yeah.
He's releasing his 9th studio album. Hard to believe. 9 albums, Jeremy. 10 years.
That is hard to believe.
Yeah.
I own every one of them, too.
I
got a 6-disc CD, and I can only put 6 in at a time. The other 3 are on the side.
Mm-hmm. And the album title is...
Okay, I love that.
Oh, geez. That's the title of the album.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
I love that. Beep.
Yeah. I don't know what that was saying. Anyway, the real... I don't know why we're talking about Little Dirk, but his album's called Deep Thoughts, and it's not the SNL skit either. So what I've been listening to recently... that's the garage door. Probably can't hear that.
I can.
So I showed Jeremy a video tonight of The Darkness. We both love this band. They have a new album coming out March 28th called Dreams on Toast. But the new Darkness single, I Hate Myself, is out now. Video's a little odd.
Little.
Very low budget. It's Justin Hawkins, lead singer. He's smoking. He's singing without, committing too much emotion. You have to see it. I don't know if he's wearing a wig. His hair looks luxurious, I have to say. And the video's kind of mesmerizing. But
he's on like a selfie camera and does nothing.
Yeah. But the song's pretty rockin'.
Yeah, it's upbeat. Good upbeat song.
And I like the chorus. I hate myself. I hate myself. I do. I hate myself so you don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just a fun song. I hope they tour soon. I like to see them. And then I've been listening to a girl called Fletcher. She has a new live album out called The Antidote, Fletcher Live. Because her album from last year was called The Antidote. These are live songs recorded at Radio City Music Hall from her tour. And they also include songs from her first 2 albums. So if you don't know much about it, it's a good introduction to her. She's a female pop artist, kind of edgy, has a really good voice though. Bruce Springsteen has a live album. This actually came out December 20th. I just realized, I thought it was new. It is kind of new.
Right.
And it's the live series, Songs Undercover Volume 3. So I guess there were 2 other live albums. These are all cover songs. Now there's familiar songs like Street Fightin' Man, Jersey Girl. And if you didn't know, it was actually an original Tom Waits song. Tom Waits wrote that.
Right.
And then there's some obscure ones like Lefty Frizzell's Long Black Veil, Jimmy Cliff reggae song Trapped, which I think he's performed before live, that song. And the live song spanned from 1975 to 2024. The last song on the album was recorded on Halloween this past year.
Wow.
And what Halloween song would you think Bruce would do? And you'll never guess.
The Purple People Eater.
No, Ghostbusters.
Okay.
Bruce ain't afraid of no ghosts. Yeah. The Ray Parker Jr. song.
Right.
So that's kind of what I've been listening to. Trying to see if I listen to anything today, because new music came out today. But Ringo, I listen to Ringo. Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. So let's see. What do we got next? Have you been listening to anything?
So I finally listened to the new Linkin Park CD, which I know I texted you off to the side. I was not. Good thing there was no beer in there.
I like to spill things.
That would have been a big party foul. Oh, yeah. You can't see in the studio here, but beer can went tumbling down.
Yeah.
So I checked out the new Linkin Park album, like in depth. I listened to a couple of the songs, but it was good sound. They've got some great lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I know we talked about this off to the side, but I loved Linkin Park through college. and it's just not the same.
Yeah.
So I would probably enjoy it more if it was a new band, not, I don't want to say claiming to be Linkin Park, but it's just not the same sound with a female singer as opposed to Chester. Yeah.
Yeah, I never was into the band, and so for me, it's different. It's like a new band to me.
Right.
And I like Emily, what's her, Armstrong or something.
Right.
No, I don't like every song, but yeah.
And then, I don't want to get into it too much, but listen to our album roulette that we're going to do. I've listened to those 3 albums that I will be talking about a few times now, so I'll have more insight on that episode. But actually, I've been listening to a lot of... I went and saw the Beaches last year. They opened up for Greta Van Fleet. I listened to their album again. Just stuff that I don't typically listen to, if that makes sense. Trying to kind of get through it again and just give it a good, solid listen to. So that's kind of more what I've been doing, catching up on like last year's artists, I guess you could say. Yeah.
And then I'll listen to old stuff, you know, on vinyl. Right. I've got a couple new Steely Dan and some of them a couple I'm not familiar with. One's called Katie Lied. I think I put them away. But and then Pretzel Logic is they have like weird names for the albums, but I'm planning on getting I love Steely Dan. I love Aja is like that's one of the best albums I think ever. I mean, unless you don't like Steely Dan, then you don't like Steely Dan. But,
right.
But it's like that smooth kind of jazzy kind of.
But I've also been I don't know why, but I've been in a Pearl Jam kick lately, the past couple weeks. So I've been listening to a lot of old Pearl Jam albums.
Yeah.
That, you know, not just the hits that you hear all the time, but albums that I didn't really give a fair shot to when they first came out. Just trying to kind of listen to them again and take them in.
Yeah, and then during the day, usually when I'm on the computer or work, I listen to WDHA, which is a New Jersey station. But I was telling Jeremy that they have the request hour. It's like old school radio. It's they've been around. I didn't realize someone posted a concert that they had in North Jersey in like 1983, and I swear it was like U2. It was all these Van Halen, all these bands that we know as like legendary now. We're all performing together.
Nice,
you know. And it was the same radio station, so they've been around a long time.
Right.
So anyway, someone requested Styx Snowblind. And I literally have not heard that song probably since Paradise Theater came out. Because, you know, you hear the other songs, Too Much Time on My Hands. So I went. Now, I'm surprised at myself. I don't own that on vinyl because that was one of my favorite albums. But I went and listened to the entire album, you know, streamed it because of hearing that one song.
Right.
So yeah, I go back and listen. I listen to new stuff and old stuff, but so anyway, okay. So we're on to our next segment. We're gonna take a little break again, and we'll be back. I got some music biographies, new ones.
Okay.
Maybe one old one. I don't know. Okay, we're back again, and I have some music biographies. The first one, it did come out last year. Let's see, and I stumbled upon this one, and it's one of my favorite movies from the 80s, and it was the Blues Brothers movie.
Okay.
But there's a book out. It's called The Blues Brothers, An Epic Friendship, The Rise of Improv, and the Making of an American Film Classic. And it's in hardcover. This came out March 19th, 2024. It's by Daniel D. Weiss. It's the author. It's the story of the epic friendship between John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd, the golden era improv, and the making of the comedic film classic that helped shape our popular culture. It says, "They're not going to catch us," Dan Aykroyd, as Elwood Blues tells his brother Jake, played by John Belushi. "We're on a mission from God." So opens the musical action comedy The Blues Brothers, which hit theaters on June 20th, 1980. Their scripted mission was to save a local Chicago orphanage, but Aykroyd, who conceived and wrote much of the film, had a greater mission to honor the then seemingly forgotten tradition of rhythm and blues, and some of whose great artists, Aretha Franklin, James Brown, John Lee Hooker, Cab Calloway, Ray Charles, made the film as unforgettable as its wild car chases. They're all in the film.
Right.
And the story behind the classic is rich. The saga behind the Blues Brothers, as Daniel DeVries reveals, is epic, encompassing. I can't even talk right. Encompassing the colorful childhoods of Belushi and Aykroyd, and the comedic revolution sparked by Harvard's Lampoon, which is became, I think, National Lampoon, Chicago's Second City, the birth and rich drug-filled early years of Saturday Night Live, which is true, where the Blues Brothers were born as an act amidst the turmoil and rivalry, and of course the indelible behind-the-scenes narrative of how the film was made, scene by memorable scene. I think I want this book. I don't have a price on this. Usually I have prices, but I don't have one. Next we have, these are new books now, January 14th, DION, The Rock and Roll Philosopher hardcover. It's by Dion DiMucci, who is Dion. Adam Jablin is also the author. Legendary rock and roll fame innovator shares the most lasting influences on his remarkable life, a life that helped shape the last 60 years of rock and roll history. And the book features a prologue by Eric Clapton and a foreword by Paul Simon. Do you know who Dion is?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good. As the lead singer of Dion and the Belmonts in the late 1950s, Dion captured the heart in America with chart toppers like Runaround Sue, The Wanderer, and A Teenager in Love. Throughout the 1970s and 80s, Dion explored folk, blues, gospel, earning a Grammy nomination in 1985 and an induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1980. Nomination in 85. He was inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 89, alongside icons like the Rolling Stones and Stevie Wonder. So this features over 200 vibrant photos, and this book captures... Okay, I lost my place here. We are live. This book captures not just the life of a music icon, but 6 decades of rock and roll evolution. Now, when I owned the print shop I had a business partner. When she got married, her parents work at the Paper Mill Playhouse, and there was a Paper Mill hosted, they had a show about Dion, and her father got Dion to record a video message at the wedding. So I got to see that. And so anyway, the hardcover, $40, 228 pages. And then the last one I have here is Protecting Whitney.
Okay.
The memoir of her bodyguard. Yes, the actual bodyguard. Not Kevin Costner from The Bodyguard.
Right.
It's coming out January 28th, and it's by David Roberts. And David Roberts was Whitney Houston's bodyguard. He was hired in 1988 for her UK portion of the Moment of Truth World Tour. He got to travel the globe with one of the most fun, loving, and generous souls he's ever met, and his memoir reveals heartwarming anecdotes of life with one of the world's most recognizable stars, including privately shared moments such as the birth of Bobby Christina. But there's also shocking, heartbreaking revolutions. Roberts was present for some of Houston's most challenging ordeals. He was helpless as he watched those who claimed to love and support her look the other way because they saw her voice box as a cash machine. Sad, very sad.
Yep.
So this is $30 list price, 256 pages. So there you go. You got DYAN, Whitney Houston, the Blues Brothers. And we are going to cover a book this year. Jeremy and I went over the our schedule of podcast, and we are going to cover Peter Frampton's book, even though it came out a couple of years ago. But so that's one book. We like to cover at least one book because, of course, I sit there. I don't know if Jeremy does. He listens to the audio. I have the actual book, but I'll sit there with a notepad, and my wife is like asking me what I'm doing, doing my homework, because I forget things. Jeremy's still young enough, he remembers.
I forget things too.
Oh, okay.
But at least listening to it on audio, it's an easier interpretation of it. Sometimes you're reading, you can get sidetracked, or you get a message from the mothership and you lose your focus. And
I just write down some key words or key, things in the book that I find interesting.
Yeah.
Like, I think if you haven't listened to our podcast about AC/DC's lead singer, Brian Johnson, listen to that one, because we go chapter by chapter.
That was a lot of fun.
It was a great book.
It was a great book.
You probably don't even need to read the book, after you listen, but that was a good. And then last year we did Dave Grohl.
Mm-hmm. So, that was a good book too.
Yeah. And I do want to read Geddy Lee's book. I think it's called My Effin' Life. I just got that for Christmas. So maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll do that at the end of the year. I don't know. We'll see. So, and always, if anyone wants to email us with suggestions, we'll consider them. I usually don't sketch out the entire year, because I think November, December, I don't have any ideas for, but usually the first 6 months, I want to kind of get an idea of what we're going to do. So we're going to take our last break here, and we're going to come back with our last segment. We saved album anniversaries for last. So we'll be right back. Okay, we're back, and we're doing album anniversaries, and we're up to, hold on a minute. This is last year's album anniversaries.
Uh-oh.
Okay, here we go. No, that's not it. Where am I here? There we go. So we're now up to, we're going to do, I got one for 1965. We got 1975, we're doing 85, we're skipping 95, and we're going to be doing 2000, just to mix things up, because that's 25 years ago.
Right.
So Jeremy's going to start off with some music news for January 1965.
Yeah, so music news, January 1965. Fender Musical Instruments Corporation is sold to CBS for $13 million. Of note, in 1985, Fender was bought by Servco. January 21st, The Animals. Show at New York's Apollo Theater is canceled after the U.S. Immigration Department forces the group to leave the theater. The Rolling Stones and Roy Orbison travel to Sydney to begin their Australian tour that same day. January 24th, we have the Animals again. They appear a second time on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Yeah, so they're, I guess, left back in the country or something.
Yeah.
They worked things out.
Yep.
So I have one album for January 1965, and that's a band called The Zombies.
Oh.
Now, they're kind of an obscure band. I don't know people remember The Zombies. So this is their first studio album, and they're an English rock band.
Mm-hmm.
So released by Parrot Records, a division of London Records, mainly based out of Chicago. After the success of the double-sided hit single She's Not There, backed with You Make Me Feel Good, reached number 2 on the U.S. charts in the fall of 1964. And Parrot quickly released this LP in 1965. The dozen tracks were taken from material the Zombies cut for their UK debut album, Begin Here. Also included are It's All Right With Me, and Sometimes from their self-titled EP. And the album also included their second hit single, Tell Her No. Now, I don't know enough about that. I know She's Not There.
Right.
That's a really good song.
Right.
So now we're at January 1975.
Yep. On January 6th, approximately 1,000 Led Zeppelin fans, which on paper doesn't sound like a lot.
No, it doesn't.
But here's a funny blast from the past. Waiting for tickets to go on sale for Led Zeppelin's February 4th concert caused an estimated $30,000 in damage to the lobby of the Boston Garden. The fans reportedly broke chairs and doors and caused other damage to the building. Boston Mayor Kevin White cancels the upcoming show.
Nice.
I'd imagine, back in the day, so like Ticketmaster, things like that, you actually had to wait in a line. You got there early or days in advance.
Oh, yeah.
So they're probably there for a while.
Overnight.
Yeah. Probably like camping out. I mean, today we don't have to deal with stuff like that, but
yeah,
it was actually fun to do that in a weird way.
Yeah, there was I think it was the Westgate Mall in Allentown that they had a Ticketron or something.
Mm-hmm.
But people would, I don't know if I slept out overnight or just got there early. And I've talked about it before. The only time I slept out overnight was right down from the Empire State Building in New York City on a sidewalk. And I had a tarp, and it was Matt and I, and these two girls. I still don't know who they are. We all slept under a tarp.
Yeah.
For tickets. So, yeah. It was fun.
It was fun. It's weird because obviously you're just standing in a line, so it doesn't sound fun.
But now being older, I wouldn't want to do that anyway.
Right.
So
it was a different time, different mindset.
Because the AC/DC tickets, I got in there that at noon or whatever.
Right.
And we got floor seats. They're in the back.
Yep.
But I got floor seats. And it's almost instant, and then you continue on with the day,
Yep.
So.
It's just a different mindset. It's a different time. All right, so still in 1975, January 8th, 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 Led Zeppelin concerts at Madison Square Garden sell out in a record 4 hours.
They were the Taylor Swift of their time.
They were. January 12th, the Warner Brothers Music Show begins a 9-city, 18-show tour of Europe. The tour included Warner Brothers X Little Feat, Tower of Power, the Doobie Brothers, Bonnaroo, Montrose, and Graham Central Station.
Graham Central. Bonnaroo, I didn't even know that was a band. I've heard of Montrose.
Yeah.
I don't know. So albums, let's see. I have one album. I'm trying to cut the album anniversary to 1. Especially, I think the last podcast, there were hardly anything good anyway. But so we got Bob Dylan, Blood on the Tracks, released January 20th, 1975 by Columbia Records. And the album marked Dylan's return to Columbia after a 2-album stint with Asylum Records. He began recording the album at an A&R studio in New York City in September 74. December, shortly after Columbia was due to release the album, Dylan abruptly re-recorded much of the material in Sound 80 studio in Minneapolis. So the final album contains 5 tracks recorded in New York and 5 from Minneapolis. The album's songs have been linked to tensions in Dylan's personal life, including his estrangement from his then-wife, Sarah. One of their children, Jacob Dylan, who we know, he's the Wallflowers, has described the songs as my parents talking. In interviews, Dylan has denied that the songs on the album are autobiographical. And although Blood on the Tracks initially received mixed reviews from critics, it has retrospectively been acclaimed as one of Dylan's best albums by both critics and fans in various publications, and have since listed it as one of the greatest albums of all time. Now, it was a commercial success, peaking at number 1 on Billboard 200 and number 4 on the UK albums chart with the single Tangled Up in Blue. Peaked at number 31 on the Billboard Hot 100, and it remains one of Dylan's best-selling studio releases. So a little background on the recording. Before recording the songs that would constitute Blood on the Tracks, Dylan previewed them for a number of friends in the music world, including David Crosby, Graham Nash, Stephen Stills, Tim Drummond, and Peter Rowan. And Nash recalled that Stills disliked Dylan's private performance of his new songs. Immediately after Dylan left the room, Stills remarked to Nash, "He's a good songwriter, but he's no musician." Nice. So now we're on to January 1985.
Yeah, January 1st, 1985. The newest music video channel, MTV. No, I'm just kidding. VH1 begins broadcasting on American cable. It is aimed at an older demographic than its sister station, MTV. First video played is Marvin Gaye's rendition of The Star-Spangled Banner. And they probably weren't showing pop-up videos back in 1985.
It was no Buggles. Video killed the radio star.
Yeah. January 11th, one of the biggest music festivals in the world begins in Rio de Janeiro. Did I say that right?
Rio de Janeiro.
Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Rock in Rio had an audience of 1.5 million people, and it featured groups such as Iron Maiden, Nina Hagen, the B-52s, the Go-Go's, Queen, Rod Stewart, James Taylor, and of course AC/DC.
That would have been a good festival.
Oh, that would have been a great festival.
If we go back in time, we're going to a music festival.
There you go.
And we'll pay like $5. Yeah.
Also, January 11th, Willie Dixon sues Led Zeppelin over the song Whole Lotta Love. That's one of my favorite Zeppelin songs. On the grounds that it contains too many similarities to his own song You Need Love. The lawsuit is settled out of court. Citation needed.
Oh, you don't need that. Citation. Damn Wikipedia.
And on January 28th, various artists under the group name USA for Africa, including Ray Charles, Bob Dylan, Michael Jackson, Billy Joel, Cyndi Lauper, Steve Perry, Bruce Springsteen, Willie Nelson, and many others record the song We Are the World, written by Michael Jackson and Lionel Richie.
There you go.
This is ridiculous.
So January 85, let's see. January 14th, John Fogerty released his third solo studio album, and I'd say probably one of my favorites because I don't know many other John Fogerty solo albums, but I think it's one of my favorites of 85 that year, and I know I owned it. I played it a lot. And what is the title, Jeremy?
Centerfield.
Yes.
Is it? Okay. Yeah. I wasn't sure.
Yeah. And it spawned the hit singles The Old Man Down the Road. It was Fogerty's only top 10 hit as a solo artist, Rock and Roll Girls, and the title track Centerfold. This was Fogerty's first album in 9 years. After the decision not to release his Hoodoo album, Fogerty decided to take a long break from the music business because of legal battles with his record company. In the meantime, Fogerty's recording contract with Asylum Records was reassigned to co-owner Warner Brothers Records, So this album was the first released on the Warner Brothers label. And he played all the instruments on the album himself. And I'm always amazed when, Paul McCartney's done that. Someone who we talked about passing from World Party. I don't know if you might not be familiar with that band, Jeremy, World Party, but he played all the instruments on that album.
Okay.
Bass, guitar, drum, all that. And now the image on the cover shows an old-fashioned beat-up glove as referenced in the title song, and text similar to the logo of a baseball team, setting the mood for the track. Now the album went to number 1 in the US and number 48 in the UK. They did not like this album in the UK that much. Now a bit of trivia. The owner of Fantasy Records, Sol Zentz, sued John Fogerty over the song The Old Man Down the Road. He claimed that it had the same chorus as Run Through the Jungle, a Creedence Clearwater Revival song. Now why would he sue him over Clearwater Revival song?
Because he was the singer.
No. Years before, Fogerty relinquished all his rights to the CCR songs to Fantasy Records in exchange for release from his contract with them.
Got it.
Now, Fogerty won the court case after bringing his guitar and playing both songs, convincing the court it was his distinctive style of playing that made both songs sound similar. And he won.
Interesting.
So, now, honorable mention, and I think I mentioned this album before, and it's the Commodore's Night Shift album, which is the 11th studio album by the Commodores, released January 15th, 85. It's their second studio album without Lionel Richie, who left the band in 82. And for some reason, I had this cassette, and I don't know, like I was never into the Commodores,
right?
But I had this album. I remember playing it. It would have been around, this time or maybe the year after. So now we're going to skip 1995. Nothing was going on back then. To the year 2000, which is, believe it or not, 25 years ago.
It's funny because we talk a lot of music. You listen to me on the podcast and I like a lot of older music. That's just what I've always grown up with and always enjoyed. This music news is probably one of the first times on the podcast that we're talking about something that I can relate to and remember exactly what was happening.
Yeah, I think that's why I skipped
when it went on. So we're going to 2000, January 1st of 2000, which of course was the whole Y2K scare.
Yeah.
That was a big deal for those who may not remember.
Yeah, the turn off, all the computers were going to... because of the clock or something on the computer.
Like everything electrical was going to just malfunction and we were going to be,
I told my son that, he's 21. Now I can tell him stories of the past. And he didn't... I guess he believed me, but
yeah. So anyway, Y2K, that was a big deal back then. Anyway, January 1st, New York City, United States, at precisely midnight, when everybody was scared out of their minds, Prince is celebrating the start of the final year with an amazing song, 1999.
Yeah.
In what he vows is the song's finale.
Yeah, he said he would never play it again.
Yeah. He lied because he played it in many concerts after that. But anyway, it's a great song.
Yeah.
It really captured that moment, and it was just...
Let's party like it's 1990.
Yeah.
Yeah.
January 11th, again, this is something I remember exactly where I was. I read this on an old Gateway computer back in the day. Sharon Osbourne quits as manager of the Smashing Pumpkins after only 3 months. In a brash press release, she announces she had to resign for medical reasons. Quote, Billy Corgan was making me sick, end quote. And that's just a hilarious line. It's a classic, but... now, this one I forgot about, but singer Whitney Houston is caught with 15.2 grams of marijuana in her bag at a Hawaii airport. She boards her flight to San Francisco before the police can arrive to arrest her, though.
Yeah. She gets out of there.
Yeah. Smart. January 14th, Rolling Stone. Now, of course, not the band. This is a magazine.
Yeah, not Mick.
I think they still print it, but...
I remember this, too.
In case you don't remember. Rolling Stone reveals that the 2 children of Melissa Etheridge and her partner, Julie Cypher, were fathered by David Crosby.
Yeah.
Yep. And then this is kind of like a blanket, January 21st.
This is a festival.
February, yeah. The Big Day Out Festival takes place in Australia and New Zealand, headlined by the Red Hot Chili Peppers and 9 Inch Nails. Mr. Bungle are originally named in the lineup, but are kicked off due to an ongoing dispute with the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
And they were never heard from again, Mr. Bungle.
I don't know who Mr. Bungle is.
It wasn't there a Guns N' Roses song similar? Mr. Bungle?
Mr. Brownstone.
Mr. Brown. Okay, never mind. I'm thinking of the Buggles, too. Okay, so January 2000, one artist that I loved since the 80s was Warren Zevon. I still love Warren Zevon.
Weird, but good.
And I just imagine the great songs he would have written if he was still alive, especially, like, we don't talk politics on the podcast, but you know, if you know what I mean, you know what I mean. And, over the last 10, 15 years or so. And on January 25th, 2000, he released his 10th studio album. And ironically, Life'll Kill Ya. It was hailed in Rolling Stone as his best work since Excitable Boy. Now, several of the album's songs deal with the topic of death. For instance, My Shit's Fucked Up. You got to listen to this album. It's just, and it's a mournful lament on the aging process and the inevitable decay that accompanies it. Life'll Kill Ya and Don't Let Us Get Sick also have prominent death themes. Now, additionally, Zevon had a phobia of doctors, leading him to avoid them for several years. And that theme is included in the album as well. Ironically and sadly, in 2002, just 2 years after the album's release, Zevon was diagnosed with mesothelioma, and he died a year later. Yeah. So, very sad. We're ending on a sad note, but and his last album, oh my God, I don't even think I can listen to it anymore.
Yeah. Because
some of the songs on there, I think one's called something like Don't Forget About Me. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thanks for listening. And this is our first podcast of the year. And we're going to have 2 this month, no interview. But our next one is our annual one we do, Album Roulette, where we randomly pick, Jeremy and I randomly pick 3 albums. And we also talk about our top, I don't know if Jeremy's going to have 10, but I have my top 10 albums from last year. And talk briefly, and then I think the top ones I'll talk a little bit more about, but I'll edit that out. So thanks for listening, and you can always reach us at nogoodmusicpodcast@gmail.com. And of course, if you have a band or you're just a singer-songwriter, but you have recent song out and you want to send it to us for us to give it a listen, we may include it in our segment. And give us your press release if you have that, or have your publicist send us something. So, and thanks for listening, and still remember, turn off the TV,
turn up the music. Ciao.
You've been listening to No Good Music. Today's show was produced by Rob J. Lilly and recorded live and unedited at the Did You Say 7 Studios in Washington, New Jersey. You can find No Good Music on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and almost anywhere you listen to podcasts. Intro and exit music by the band 99%.
what you talking about, Willis?